Welcome to your deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the case of David Josiah Lawson, a young man tragically killed at a party in Arcata, California, back in 2017. You've sent us a lot of material on this case.
Yes.
And it's clear that this goes way beyond just figuring out who done it.
Absolutely.
We're going to unpack the events, the investigation, and the ongoing fight for justice.
Right.
But also look at the bigger issues it raises about policing race
and
how we define justice in our communities.
What's so fascinating about this case is that 6 years later, it's still sparking debate and it's raising all of these uncomfortable questions. It's a story that forces us to confront the limitations of our justice system and how sometimes, even with a mountain of evidence, truth can remain elusive.
Okay, let's unpack this. So to set the scene for you, we're in Arcata, California, a college town with Humboldt State University, HSU, right in the heart of it. But there was this tension brewing between the largely white community and the university's effort to increase diversity.
Exactly. And this is where Josiah Lawson comes in,
a
young, promising student at HSU. He was known for his kindness and passion for social justice. But on April 15th, 2017, he attended a party on Spear Avenue, kind of a cramped cul-de-sac that, as the night went on, became the backdrop for this tragedy.
So what started as a typical college party took a really dark turn. And it all seems to hinge on something that you wouldn't really expect, a missing cell phone.
Right. We have Kyle Zahner and his girlfriend, Laya Ortega, who are at the party. Laya's phone goes missing, and they begin asking around. This leads them to interact with Josiah and his friends, and things quickly escalate.
Here's where it gets really, really interesting and complicated. Accounts of what happened next are all over the place. Some witnesses say Laya was confrontational, accusing Josiah's group of stealing the phone. Others suggest it was actually one of Josiah's friends that started a physical altercation by hitting Laya.
You can see how this chaotic scene and these conflicting witness testimonies make it incredibly difficult to piece together a reliable narrative. This is a key challenge in so many criminal investigations, highlighting the importance of securing a crime scene quickly and obtaining accurate statements from witnesses.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle where everybody has a different piece, but none of them seem to fit together. Then to make matters worse, somebody uses pepper spray.
And to this day, we still don't know for sure who used the pepper spray and how that might have contributed to the escalation.
Oh, wow.
Imagine the scene. A crowded party, late at night, people are drinking, tempers are flaring, and suddenly there's pepper spray in the air.
Oh, my God.
It's a recipe for confusion and chaos.
Absolutely. Witnesses describe people scattering, struggling to see, and in the midst of all of this, the stabbing happens. But it occurs so quickly that no one seems to have a clear memory of the exact moment Josiah is stabbed.
This lack of a clear narrative from that crucial moment becomes a major obstacle for investigators. It's like a piece of the puzzle is missing right from the start. So as the chaos subsides and the police arrive, they immediately focus on Kyle Zahner. He's injured, disoriented, and claims that he blacked out, with no memory of stabbing anyone.
And to add another layer of complexity, Kyle's family comes forward with a very different version of events, claiming he was attacked by multiple people, knocked unconscious, and couldn't have possibly stabbed Josiah.
This raises a crucial question in self-defense cases. How do we assess the level of force used, especially in these chaotic situations with limited visibility? And how do we weigh conflicting accounts when memories are fragmented and influenced by trauma?
And as the investigation unfolds, we're introduced to this cast of characters who were at the party, each with their own perspective on what happened.
We have Laya Ortega, who some describe as confrontational, even making racist remarks, though she denies any involvement in the stabbing. Then there are Josiah's friends, whose accounts are understandably raw and emotional. Their grief palpable. But even their details vary. Adding yet another layer of complexity to the narrative.
And then we have Jason Martinez, who initially seems like the key witness, the one who could place the knife in Kyle's hand. But when he's questioned, his testimony starts to crumble.
His memory is hazy. He can't definitively identify Kyle. And what was initially seen as a slam dunk case starts to unravel.
It's incredibly frustrating, especially for Josiah's mother. Tremaine Lawson, who emerges as this powerful advocate demanding answers and justice for her son.
Her tireless advocacy shines a light on the systemic failures that plagued this investigation right from the start.
Okay.
We see a mishandled crime scene, incomplete police reports, and missed opportunities to gather crucial evidence.
Wow, this really seems like a textbook example of how not to handle a crime scene.
Yeah.
What kind of impact do you think these missteps had on the investigation?
Well, these early errors cast a long shadow over the entire case, making the pursuit of justice that much more difficult.
Okay.
It also erodes public trust in the investigation, leaving many to wonder if a proper and thorough investigation ever really took place.
So the case moves forward, and the preliminary hearing, which for our listeners who may not be familiar with legal terms, this is a judge's initial assessment of whether there's enough evidence to proceed to trial.
Yes.
Is held on the same day as Josiah's funeral.
Talk about adding another layer of heartbreak to an already devastating situation.
Oh, my God.
And during this hearing, the inconsistencies in witness testimonies and the lack of a clear narrative lead the judge to rule that there isn't enough evidence to charge Kyle with murder.
It's a huge blow for Josiah's family and friends, who are desperate for some sense of closure and accountability.
Right.
But the story doesn't end there.
Right. The case takes another turn when a grand jury, after months of deliberation, also declines to indict Kyle or anyone else for Josiah's murder.
And to make things even more confusing, a grand juror comes forward anonymously, revealing the internal disagreements and struggles the jury faced in trying to make sense of the evidence.
This raises serious questions about the grand jury process itself and whether it was truly fair and impartial in this case.
Now, if this case wasn't complicated enough already, the murder weapon, a high-quality kitchen knife, is found and tested.
Yes.
But the DNA evidence doesn't give us any clear answers.
Josiah's blood is on the blade.
Okay.
Kyle's DNA is on the handle, but there's also DNA from 2 other unidentified individuals.
Wow.
It's a forensic puzzle that only deepens the mystery.
And as if we're going down this rabbit hole of legal proceedings, both Kyle and Charmaine file civil lawsuits.
Wow.
Accusing each other of wrongdoing.
Okay.
Kyle sues the city, claiming malicious prosecution and damage to his reputation.
Yeah.
Charmaine counters, alleging police incompetence
and
a failure to properly investigate her son's death.
This back and forth of legal battles only highlights the deep divisions within the community and the lack of a clear consensus on what truly happened that night.
Years go by, and the question of who killed Josiah Lawson remains unanswered.
Right.
Was it a tragic accident? Was it self-defense gone wrong? Or was it, as some believe, a racially motivated attack fueled by the tensions that were already simmering beneath the surface of this seemingly idyllic college town?
The lack of a definitive answer continues to haunt the community, leaving a scar of pain and distrust.
So we've got this unsolved case, a community still reeling from Josiah's death, and a system that seems to have failed everyone involved.
Yeah.
But hold on, because the story takes another unexpected turn. Years after the initial investigation, Kyle Znooker finds himself back in court.
Wow.
But this time, he's not a suspect. He's the one suing.
Okay.
He files this malicious prosecution lawsuit against the officer who arrested him that night, Officer Lawson.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Right.
Kyle argues that Officer Lawson intentionally falsified information in the police report.
Okay.
Which led to his arrest and the lasting damage to his reputation.
The jury actually sides with Kyle.
They do?
Finding that Officer Lawson did act maliciously, awarding Kyle over $700,000 in damages.
Wow.
They even go so far as to request a public apology from Officer Lawson.
You can imagine the shockwaves as sent through the community.
Right.
It seemed like a total rebuke of the police investigation and validation of Kyle's claims.
But wait, there's more.
There is.
In a truly stunning turn of events, the judge decides to overturn the jury's verdict.
Oh, wow.
Ruling that there was in fact probable cause for Kyle's arrest.
Okay.
Regardless of the errors in the police report.
So we're left with this legal tug of war.
Yeah.
And it really highlights the complexities of the justice system.
Right.
It shows how, even when there are missteps or inconsistencies, proving malicious prosecution can be incredibly difficult.
Absolutely. And amidst all these legal battles, 2 independent reports, one from the National Police Foundation and another from the county's civil grand jury, expose some major flaws within the Arcata Police Department.
They criticize the handling of the case, calling it inept and inadequate.
While the reports didn't explicitly find racial bias, many in the community felt it played a role.
Right.
How do we reconcile these differing viewpoints?
That's a crucial question. It speaks to the larger issue of how we perceive and address systemic issues, particularly within law enforcement. It's not always about finding a smoking gun, but rather acknowledging the ways in which bias can subtly influence actions and decisions.
So as a result of these reports and Charmaine's tireless advocacy, we do see some changes.
Okay.
The police chief resigns, the district attorney decides not to run for re-election, and the department implements new procedures and training.
But for Charmaine and Josiah's loved ones, these changes probably feel like a drop in the bucket compared to the immense loss they suffered.
Right.
It's a stark reminder that systemic change takes time, and it often comes at a great personal cost.
6 years later, Josiah's murder remains unsolved. The case stays open.
Right.
A painful reminder of a life cut short and the enduring struggle for justice.
This case, as we've seen, is so much more than a whodunit. It's about the shortcomings of our legal system, the challenges of uncovering the truth, and the deep-seated racial dynamics that continue to plague our communities.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener? You've now gone through a deep dive into a case where truth feels almost impossible to grasp, and justice seems perpetually out of reach.
Right.
What stands out to you from all of this information?
The Josiah Lawson case is a potent example of the human cost when systems fail and the importance of demanding better from those in power. While we may never know for sure who killed Josiah, the case has undeniably shown a light on the need for more thorough investigations, greater police accountability, and a more profound examination of racial bias in law enforcement and our society as a whole.
We encourage you to keep exploring this case.
Yes.
To think about the weight of conflicting narratives, the difficulties of eyewitness testimony, and the complex intersection of race and justice within this tragic story.
Absolutely.
And if you happen to have any information about the murder of David Josiah Lawson, please contact the Arcata Police Department.
Ultimately, this case, though unresolved, serves as a powerful call to action. It reminds us that the pursuit of justice demands our constant attention, a commitment to holding those in power accountable, and a willingness to grapple with uncomfortable truths about ourselves and our society.
And as you continue to reflect on everything we've discussed today, here's something to consider. Imagine yourself as a detective assigned to this case right now. Knowing everything we've covered, what investigative steps would you prioritize? What new avenues would you explore in the search for answers?